Okay, so this is when I get lazy and I don't want to take out 2 tanks, 2 sets of equipment and do everything. 1 recovery unit, 2 hoses going on to 2 separate vehicles doing recovery. And that is a more time-consuming, a less time-consuming, more profitable way of performing recoveries. 2 vehicles, 1 time. But always remember, there's absolutely no reason to ever skip the procedure of identifying your refrigerant and making sure it isn't a blend refrigerant, a mixed refrigerant, a different refrigerant, a flammable refrigerant. There's no excuse. When I hear an owner of a shop tell me, oh, but we got to move fast, we can't make money, it's not profitable, we don't charge that. Bullshit. There is no excuse for that crap. Those kind of owners need to be removed from this industry like a freaking cockroach in a kitchen. And yeah, that's about it. Just back up 2 vehicles, 3 vehicles, 4 vehicles, run it all into 1 pipe, and you could recover it all down at 1 time. Now, that's great in this scenario where it's body shop work. But if you needed to do diagnosis, you need to recover the refrigerant only out of that 1 vehicle and measure and weigh it exactly, because recovering refrigerant and weighing what comes out is all part of your diagnostics. So let's give an example here. A car rolls into your shop and you don't have a recovery machine, and you're going to guess, and you say you see 7 psi on the low side. So let's say our low side, or here's -4, but let's say it says 7 psi on the low side and you have 70 on the high side. Let's say it's 70 degrees outside. You're gonna go, oh, it's low. Okay, so you start shooting cans in there and shooting cans in there, and let's say it's this vehicle. Okay, let's look at this, because this is an abortion vehicle. It's made by Chevy, so it's a piece of crap. Only a moron would place a service valve fitting with literally hidden under between a switch, oil switch, and your switch from your compressor. You can't get to it. It's down there. The cap's filled with dirt because the backside, if you're in a salty place, that fitting will corrode and you'll have a rough surface. Right around here will corrode and messes up the fitting. Really hard to get to when everything is in your way. Everything put back in place, that's just dumbass. And General Motors is wondering why technicians themselves tell people don't buy a Chevy, Ford, or Chrysler because of dumbass engineering, and get a Toyota. That's something engineered a little better. And usually, not all the time, they must have Americans working for them now, because they do some stupid shit now too. Usually things are put in a good place where you get access to them. Now on top of that, we're going to use this back to example. So you're 7 on the low side, 70 on the high side. It's a 70-degree day. Oh, it's low. I'm just going to pop on a can, get my little jack off can and my little hose with my little stupid gauge, and I'm just going to keep on pumping in there. Well, you pump away, mofo, because let's say you didn't recover. There's already refrigerant in there, but the system was completely 100% full. And the reason you had that 7 psi on the low side was a restricted expansion valve. And fucking BillyBob Butt Crack here is just jamming in more and more refrigerant. He says, man, that high side's not going up, man. I'm just gonna have to dump that refrigerant in there because I are a college graduate. And because that service fitting is located right into the mouth of the compressor, you have no forgiveness for liquid refrigerant getting down in the compressor and starts just wiping off the lubricant off all the mating surfaces that need lubricant on them. Refrigerant is an excellent solvent for carrying away refrigerant oil, and that's what it does really good. And when you force feed more refrigerant in there than it needs, at the same time you're running it dry. Basically you just got refrigerant as a lubricant with no lubricant, especially when your pressure in your can exceeds the low side pressure. You literally feed more raw refrigerant with no lubricant in it right through the compressor. And if you have the Mr. More is Better guy who starts turning the can upside down, you are right on the mouth intake of the compressor. So that's one instance. But because BillyBob Butt Crack didn't use his recovery machine and actually weigh what kind of ounce, he never knew the system has a bad expansion valve that's only partially plugged. It's not fully plugged, so it didn't go into a negative. But BillyBob Butt Crack just keeps throwing cans in there. Oh wow, the compressor's, oh, why is the compressor making some noise? Oh shit, it's slipping on the thing. Oh shit, oh, turn it off. And then the pop off goes, the clutch slips, or the compressor goes. And even after since he doesn't have a recovery unit, BillyBob Butt Crack just lets a line loose and lets it up into the air and starts all over again trying to figure out what's wrong. But BillyBob Butt Crack doesn't know the system was full because he never measured it. And he starts over again. And he goes, oh, Mr. Customer, we found your problem. You got a bad compressor. Let's see, $750 for the compressor, $280 for the condenser, and 5 hours of labor. Yeah, Mr. Customer, $2,100, and we have your system all back squared away. So BillyBob Butt Crack goes and sells that job, and BillyBob Butt Crack goes, sells the customer a condenser, a compressor. He fills it back up. He knows he's at zero. He went up and says, oh, I need this many cans, and I was like, oh shit, it's still really low vacuum. Must be expansion valve. Wow. Oh man, I can't tell the customer that it was only an expansion valve. What am I going to do? Let's see. Well, I'm going to lose about 4 hours of labor and about $50 on the expansion valve, but I just sold him $2,100 or $2,800 in work. Damn, I won't tell him about the expansion valve. I'll just do it. So, hey, Parts House, send me down that $70 or $40 expansion valve, and BillyBob Butt Crack himself, or one of his, Larry, Curly, or Mo, throws in an expansion valve, and what do you know? BillyBob Butt Crack fills it up with little cans, and it works, and the compressor is all the clueless. He thinks BillyBob Butt Crack is a superhero. And this is what I see all the time, day in and day out. That's about it on this one. We'll give BillyBob Butt Crack a rest for today, and I got to get out of here because this is 2 more jobs that weren't on my schedule that I intended, but I said I'd do them. So I got these guys recovered down, and I'm into a negative 25 vacuum right now. I'll wait till it gets down into micron level of vacuum on the recovery, and I'll be out of here. See you guys, and good luck to BillyBob Butt Crack and his little jerk off hands and his little hose with that little gauge.